Okay, welcome back. So in this video here, we're still working on our PCB, our light sensor PCB. We have gotten all the parts here alongside the board here. We did our schematic. We've got our board outline. If you remember from last time, we pulled in our mechanical. Let me refresh this over here. We got our mechanical enclosure brought in here. Then we got a board outline from that. We took that board outline and we reinserted it back into our enclosure. So now we can see how things are going to fit down the road. So in this video, what I want to do is I want to work on placement. And so placement being, I want to put these parts on the board here. Now, one of the things that is, I guess, a challenge with a CAD system like this is that things get pretty busy on the screen here. And for those of you who have multiple screen monitors, you might want to detach things. And so you might want to move these windows around and not be constrained to, say, one screen. I've got 3 screens on my machine, and so it's nice to be able to move it around. So I just want to show you that. It's kind of a quick aside here. If you want to grab this window here and pull it out, what you can do is click and hold, and then when you move it, what's going to happen is you're going to get a picture of it like that. And so now you can pull it aside, and so now I've got another window that just has my layout on it, right? It's got my inspectors on the side. I've got everything I need here to do the layout, but I can take this and I can pull it alongside. Let me go ahead and kind of move it over here so you can see it. Normally I'd put this on another screen, but I could, at this point, I could take the schematic and I could have, if I kind of make those smaller here, I could have them both on the screen at the same time. I'm struggling a little bit because I can look at the schematic and the layout at the same time. Now, once you're, I'm not going to leave it like this for the purposes of this video, but you might want to do that, to break things apart, especially if you're working on something with more than one screen. Now, when you're ready to go back to the way it was, you can click on this little arrow right here. That little arrow kind of puts it all back into the same sort of tabbed interface. On these sorts of things up here, like these inspectors and selection filters and things like that, you can move those around too. If you were to, I'm going to close this window here. You can of course slide them out of the way, and that's probably the best here. You can also grab those and detach them. Just grab hold of these and pull them and move them to the other side. I'm not going to do that because I want to kind of make sure everything's sort of obvious what I'm doing. But you can buy yourself quite a bit of real estate on the screen just by pulling things apart. And again, it might be worthwhile to even look at the screen at the same time, where you're looking at the schematic and the layout simultaneously. That might be something you want to do. So I just wanted to point that out, that that's possible if you want to buy yourself a little more real estate. All right. So what we want to do now is we want to move these. I'm going to bring this out here so we can see it. So you can kind of see what I'm doing. I'm going to move these parts onto the board. Now, when I grab hold of this, when I get into the design mode here and I click move and I grab hold of that. So now I am in the move mode. I've got a hold of this part here. Now, if I hit the right mouse, the far right mouse button, and again, I'm assuming you're using a mouse here. The trackpad can work for this, but my experience is pretty limited, pretty negative on using just the trackpad. I find that using something like a mouse is really, really better for this kind of stuff. If you right click, you'll rotate that part by 90 degrees. All right, and if you center click, you'll notice it's going to change color. So center clicking on the wheel is going to, it's going to turn it red. Now, things that are in red are on the top. Things that are in blue are on the back. And so things that, I'm going to put the battery on the back. So remember, the top side here, the red part of this board is going to, be face up when we inserted it into our design. So I'm going to go ahead and put this down here. I'm going to put it kind of over here. I think that's probably okay. All right. You're going to get this message that things are out of sync. That's fine. That means that the 3D version of this is not synchronized at the moment. So all the packages aren't in the right spot. So once we get to kind of stopping point, we'll go back over to that and take a look at that. All right, so I'm going to also grab the, I'll put it back in, yeah, I'm in still move mode. I'm gonna grab this here. This is our processor, and I'm gonna move it over here. Now notice I've got these yellow wires. What are those yellow wires doing? Those yellow wires are called air wires or rubber bands. These are representative of the connections from the schematic. Remember, we told the system, here's how we want these pins connected. We want, you know, certain pins to go to certain other pins on the board, and so these rubber bands are representative of those connections. Of course, they're not the real traces. These are the connections, and then later on we're going to have to turn those into actual traces. So or copper. So let's come over here and we're going to drop our processor, and I'm going to put it kind of right in here, kind of, you know, a little bit central, so I can have as much room around it to route. You know, when you get this fine pitch stuff, it helps to have things close by, you know, where you can get around it. And then the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and grab this oscillator. Again, it's going to be on the back side. And so I'll look at where my connections are best here. I'm going to put it there temporarily. Now, some of this stuff, some of this writing that's in your way, it's kind of annoying. What you can do here is you can go over to your display layers and you can go and turn stuff off. So a lot of times I'll turn off T names. I'll turn off, I'm sorry, unlock T names and B names, just so that I don't have to look at that. And let's see, and I'll turn off T place and B place. So I don't want to have to stare at all that silk screen stuff while I'm kind of getting going here. It just kind of gets in the way. So, you know, your mileage may vary. Go ahead and do what you want to do there. But my sense is that it's pretty good oftentimes to keep that stuff out of the way. All right, so I'm going to grab, since I'm still in move mode, I'm going to grab this here. And this is my software debug connector, and I'll put it right there. Don't know if that's the right spot. Let me see if I can rotate that, get a little bit better. And what I'm looking for is to kind of see how the wires, you know, how these air wires are aligning. That's probably good enough. And again, a lot of this will be somewhat iterative. You'll figure it out as you go. Let's go ahead and move this connector here. This is my 3-pin serial connector. And so I'm going to put it right down by this hole. Now, so if you notice, things are kind of chunky here. It's moving on a grid. And so if you want to go and look at what the grid is, and oftentimes I like to design where I keep the grid turned on. What I would suggest is go up here to this grid and turn on the display. I like these dots. And let's look at them. So there's my grid. And so you'll notice this, if I move it, it's locking into a grid position, right? Yeah, and so, yeah, so let's go ahead and if I hit Alt will make it move smooth. And I'm going to put it, I'm ultimately going to put it right here, like that. One thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to, I want to get rid of that hole. This hole was really there. I just wanted to carry that forward so I had a good idea where this connector was going to go. I'm going to go and I'm going to draw. I'm going to go to my document here, and I'm going to draw a circle, and I'm going to draw that on the documentation layer here. And I'm going to put it right there. And I'll just go ahead and kind of put it right there. And then I'm going to delete. So if I come over here and I change my layers here, and I get on holes, and I come here and I just delete that hole. So now that hole is gone. And so, which is what I want. I don't really want that hole in my design. I want it actually to be gone. Because I want to be able to move this here. I'm going to come back to my design. I'm going to get in move mode. I want to. Oh, I got my selection filter goofed up. So when we come back over to my selection filter, let me get out of move mode. I'm going to set this up with all these. Now it'll let me grab whatever that I need to grab here. And I put move. And so I'm chunky here. I'm still moving kind of in a chunky fashion because my grid is pretty coarse. If I hit Alt, it'll let me move a lot smoother. And so I'm going to put it right there. And I might even go up and I look at my grid here and my Alt grid. Maybe I'm going to make my Alt grid 1 mil. And so I've got a lot more positioning power here. So I go to Alt. I can drop that right on that. And so now I've got that connector in there, so it's going to be, so I'll be able to see it right through that hole. And later on, we can look at that. I may need to reverse this actually. I can't remember which side I'm on. I think we'll have to go and look at that in a minute. But I may have to spin that around. And these resistors here are going to go with it, so I'm going to grab those. It doesn't really matter what side those are on. I'm probably going to put them on the back side just to simplify things. You know, if you were going to machine place this, you would think about those kinds of things just because you might want to just have top side, you know, one side placement. And so if you were to, so then you wouldn't have to have the, you wouldn't have to have the expense maybe of placing on both sides, of doing machine placement on both sides. All right, so there we are. We've got those parts on. So let's see if we can get them all on the board. This is my light sensor here. And so I'm going to grab it and move it. And I'm going to try to place it, kind of put it kind of right over that there. And I might want to grab hold of this and kind of get it out of those. Put it right up against the board edge here. So I don't end up somehow bumping up against these little solder tails that are going to be there. I'm going to go ahead and grab, these are all capacitors, it looks like. And so I'm going to get into move mode here and click on those. And so we'll drop a cap underneath this guy here and one underneath the processor and then one underneath the oscillator here and then another one here, maybe another one here nearby the processor. All right, we've got a couple more connectors here. We've got this little 4-pin. This is going to be our power connector here, our 4-pin power connector. It's going to hook to our debug power supply. And I'll show that in a future video. But STM's got this really neat power supply that lets you observe how much current your board's drawing. As long as things draw less than about 30 milliamps. It can go all the way down into the nanoamp range, and you can measure that. And so for doing a low power sort of system programming, it's really an exceptionally handy tool. So I'm gonna kind of move around here a little bit. I'll get this part here, and I'll move it up. Try to give myself some routing channels. I'm trying to make. I probably don't want to get it that close to that. Kind of move things around. Actually, I probably don't need a cap by that. Debug connector, that's probably okay. I probably do want to put one right underneath the light, or right next to the light sensor. Put it kind of right in here. Yeah. And so, you know, those decoupling caps act like little water towers of energy. And so I'm going to come in here and I'll put the clock out so I can take a look at the oscillator setup. Oftentimes that's a source of some confusion for boards like this where you've got, you know, these really complex setups of the clock, and you just want to make sure that what you're really getting out is what you think you should be getting out. I'll put this in here. This is a little 3-pin connector that allows you to jumper the board on or off. And then we'll go ahead and put this other, these are just little copper test points here. I'm noticing here that my oscillator probably could be rotated here. If I zoom in, notice the oscillator pin kind of has to cross underneath the chip. So let me fix that here real quick. So I'm gonna take this oscillator and I'm gonna rotate it. And now our oscillator lines up a lot better. So if I kind of straighten this out here, that'll let me measure things. I might even pull this aside here just so I can tuck this oscillator a little bit closer just to avoid, to make that as straight a run as I possibly can. Put that right there. Yeah. So now we've got our oscillator, we've got our test point. Here's our serial connector in the right spot. Yeah, so this is now we've got our placement. Now let's go ahead and save it here. And now let's come up here to our, let's get rid of this message here. So we can go look at what this is going to look like mechanically. I'm sure there's some things that aren't quite right here. Let's go and see what this actually looks like. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and push that to my PCB, and it's going to take it a second here as it does its thing. All right, so there's our board. I'll kind of rotate around. I got a couple of problems here. The first problem is I've got, this connector here is hanging off the edge, and it would probably be better. I probably need to turn on the document, the silkscreen layer, so I can see the outline of this better, so I don't end up hanging it over the board like this. That would cause a problem. I've got this connector on the wrong side, and I need to draw this up a little bit to get it over that hole. What I really want is this to be right over that hole. All right, so let's go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and save this. That was, I guess, an admirable first attempt here. Oh, and I got this connector on the wrong side. So we'll have to spin this guy around. We'll put him on the back side. So let's do these. Let's take care of these two, and then we'll fix this at the same time, and then we'll come back to fix this light sensor here in just a minute. All right, so I'm going to come over to the design. Oh, wrong one. All right, there we go. All right, so one thing at a time here. So let's go ahead and turn on the T and the B place. Now you can see these. No, there I would have caught that. Now if I had those on, I would have caught those. But man, this crystal has this really annoying text. So anyway, so let's go ahead and take this connector here and spin it. So I'm gonna go ahead and select it. Oops. Select it, and then I'm going to get it into move mode, and then I'm going to rotate it. Actually, the problem with this one wasn't rotation. The problem with this one is on the wrong side of the board. So let's put it on the bottom side, and we'll go ahead and line it up with that hole there what we removed the hole. I'm going to take these parts here now that I'm kind of got them in the way, and I know where the connector is going to land. I'm going to put them there. And again, I am hitting the Alt key to kind of jump onto that alternate grid. So I'm using a 50 mil grid for the course. That's what these course dots are. But then as I move, when I want to place more finely, I'm using the alternate grid. All right. So this guy here is in the wrong spot in two ways. He's on the wrong side of the board, so I'm going to flip him over to the back side. And now, he is kind of going to be in the way here. Let's go ahead and just kind of move him out of the way, and then let's move this so we're not hanging off the board. So there's that. And then let's come over here with this. And let's see if we can get it placed. I think I'm going to move the battery a little bit here. I'm going to take advantage of the fact I can just kind of move this battery, and I'm going to slip the battery down here. And then I'll move this here. Maybe even kind of put it kind of in between here. Okay, so let's go see where we're at here. I think I need to take, I'm going to go ahead and take another, I'll go ahead and take a quick move on this here. Need to adjust my, yeah, let's go take a look at that. See if, see what we've got underneath the, underneath this connector here to make sure that we don't have any interferences there. All right, so closer. So let's go, let's do a save here. Okay. And let's go ahead and push that to the PCB. All right, so we're getting there. So we got this connector's inside. We've got this on the back side here. This will be our power switch that lets us, power off of this battery, or we can, of course, we can power off of this connector here, which is our power monitor. And then let's look at the back side. We're getting closer on this. So we need to move it a little bit to kind of line it up here. Let's see if we can. See if we can do that real quick and save this. Let me clean this placement right up here. Let's come over to the design here. Let's just go ahead and move this right up here. All right, I'll save that. And then let's go ahead and push that to the PCB. All right, so we're close. And I think what we'll do here is we can go ahead and adjust this in this board. But for now, let's leave it right there for now. I'm not sure. It looks like it's not going to interfere with the battery connector. Looks like I've got access to the battery from the side here. This is where you're going to push it in, which is what you want. Looks like the two connectors are in good shape. Let's go ahead and leave it like it is right now. I'm going to save this. I want to show you what this looks like when you pull this into your enclosure here. You're going to notice that I've got this little yellow triangle. What that little yellow triangle means is that you've got one of these components, and in fact, it's telling you which one. This one down here that's out of date. So you can click on it. Actually, I'll click on it up here and just do it. It'll update it. So now we're updated. You can kind of see that our light sensor's looking through the hole. Let's go ahead and pop the lid. Pop the lid. And so there's our board. There are our screws. If we flip this over here, and let's go ahead and pull the plug, we see that there's our communication port, our 3-pin communication port. So things are looking pretty good. We can, as you kind of look through the transparent, it looks like we're not anywhere near the bottom of the enclosure here. So you can kind of see through and look at those connectors hanging down. So this looks pretty good. For now, I think that's where we'll leave it for now. And so what we've got here is we've gotten our board. We've got a preliminary, what I would call a preliminary placement. Things are not perfect, but it's preliminary. It's something that you're you're okay enough with for right now to kind of start the process of routing. So next time we'll work on routing. All right.